It's a Matt fact. I hit you with your own Matt fact.
God, hashtag Matt fact. Hello and welcome to This Is Austin. Tonight, we own the night.
What?
That is the tagline to the new S22 lineup.
What we're getting here is, in my opinion, a small downgrade in some ways, and generally speaking, a totally reasonable upgrade in others. But I will tell you, there's not that much exciting with the S22 line. I am sure they are completely competent phones. So as we record this, we have not gotten hands-on, but we've been briefed on all the information, or at least a lot of it. And it lacks the wow factor that I think that some of the S-line phones have had in the past. It's just a very good phone, but there's no like big headlining like that 400 billion times space zoom, or it's just a good device.
I think these phones are really good. Like there's, we're saying like, oh, it's not that big of an upgrade. That's because they were so good that you can't make huge leaps and bounds every year with it. Because like the S21 is one of the best phones you could right now. One of the best phones you can get on the market. So it makes sense that like the S22 is not going to be like massively different.
Before we get into what is new and good about these devices, I want to actually point out something I don't like.
Go ahead.
The designs.
Yeah. Look, I'm glad you bring that up. I don't think that I've liked the design of a Samsung phone since about the S7. And I know... Oh, here we go.
You know what I love?
Here we
the
go.
design of the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3, the greatest device ever that I put a deep red skin on. Link in the description.
Let me re-qualify my statement.
Okay.
I haven't liked the S line of phones since about the
You didn't like the S21?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, dude.
I don't know. I don't like kind of like the big bump that they do on the back.
It was so stylized, though. It was so stylized because it was
not
part of the
my
frame.
style. That's all I'm saying.
I feel like this phone looks like it's unfinished. Like to me, especially considering that there's nothing that's all that special. Like the best color I think is like this like sort of like wine or burgundy color that's like this red. Like, I mean the color's fine, but it's like they just didn't even try. Like there's nothing going on. At least with the S21, it had the idea that the frame and the camera bump were all one nice piece. And even on the S22, which has a sort of similar look on the surface, it's no longer one piece. They actually have a camera bump and a frame, and there's a little divide between them, which just doesn't seem as premium as last year. It just doesn't feel like they're pushing the envelope on the design as much, which when you pair that with the fact that the rest of the phone is an upgrade but nothing revolutionary, it's easy to say like, oh, this is not maybe the greatest year in the world for an upgrade, because it's like, especially if you're on an S21, it's almost, I think, a downgrade as far as the actual look and maybe not the feel, but maybe slightly.
I mean, that's one of the things we'll know when we actually get our hands on it with the feel. One of the things, like, so we talk about like the Ultra, which is the most visually different.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing that they're doing again this year is the Ultra is just now the Note. It's something that we kind of talked about for a while. Is the Note line going to get enveloped into like maybe the Z Fold line? Is it going to go on the S line?
I think it might catch on fire.
Yeah.
When you look at the Ultra, it does have all the Ultra specs, right? So you do have the 10 times optical zoom. Now that might not sound super impressive, but traditionally what they've done is they've done like 4x and 5x kind of zooms, and then they like
digitally add the additional.
Yeah, this is 10x optically, and then you can go digitally to the 100 times zoom. Very cool. 10 times is, as far as I know, one of the most tight zoom lenses I've ever seen on a smartphone. That's exciting. I'm excited to try it. They didn't talk that much about it, so it's got to be a tiny sensor. It's probably not super impressive.
I believe it is a tiny sensor.
That's fine, because you also have a 3 times telephoto, ultra wide, standard. Standard's 108 megapixels. And I think actually one thing I will give them credit for is that, while again, we have not had hands-on yet, so stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed, but all the camera hardware across all the S22s has been updated this year. So there's no carryover sensors or whatever. Everything is new and updated in one way or another, including the new 108 megapixel sensor, which I believe is slightly larger than before. And honestly, they are very heavily pushing the cameras of these devices. They let out with talking about how, video is one of the most important things that most people do on their phone, whether it's watching it or capturing it. And so that was one of the big sort of impetuses for the S22, was to improve the video and the camera performance across the board. And it does seem like they've done that, especially considering that, I mean, let's be real, the S21 already took excellent photos.
It's crazy because you have like so much of their J lines, which is the budget side of phones. Then now we have different tiers of their premium line of phones.
S21 Fan Edition just came out, plus the S22s. You're right. I mean, pretty much from $1,200, actually no, all the way up to, what is it, $1,700 or $1,800 for the Fold 3 now.
Yeah, and you could still get some of the like the Fold 2. You could still get the Z Flip 2. Like I said, it's good and bad depending on how you look at it, because it's great that you have so many choices.
Yeah.
But it is complicated to kind of keep track of what you're losing versus one, what you're losing versus other. And I think this is the first year that, like, in the S line, that you lose quite a bit from the base S22 to the Ultra.
Yeah, so top line, the Ultra is the only one that has the S Pen, and it's not like last year where I think they had like an S Pen like attachment. No, this actually is a proper S Pen. It goes inside the phone, and it has super low latency. When you step down to the S22 Plus, you obviously have a slightly smaller device. In fact, actually, one thing I will give them props for, I believe all of the phones this year are slightly smaller, which I'm a big fan of, especially because I am a person who likes really compact devices. Generally speaking, they're about a little bit smaller everywhere. Like, so for me, the S22, the standard version of S22 is what I'm really excited for. That's going to be a little bit narrower, a little bit less tall, a little bit easier to carry. But once you go down, you're right, there is a little bit of a gap between features, right? So when you go to the S22 Plus, you lose the high megapixel camera, you go down to 50 megapixel. You also lose the 10 times space zoom. There are a couple of other things, but then when you go to the S22, then you lose stuff like Wi-Fi 6E, it has Wi-Fi 6, and it doesn't support the super fast charging. So it's fairly reasonable, especially considering that it's $800 for the S22, $1,000 for the S22 Plus, and $1,200 for the S22 Ultra.
I mean, those are big gaps.
They're big gaps, but I mean, to be fair, it makes sense. When you spend more, you get more out of it. But it's not like in some previous years where you could pretty much get whichever one you want and just pick the size. There are real feature and sort of major differences between them all.
So let me ask you this, though. The S21 hasn't gone down in price like it has in previous generations.
Yeah, they've had chip shortage issues, I think, keeping up with the S21.
But I think it's safe to assume that we're going to start to see it go down a little bit.
Well, I think they're clearing it out. So I don't know this for sure, so this is just pure speculation on my part. But because they have the S21 Fan Edition, which just came out, I think that there's a lot of incentive, especially because they had such a hard time keeping it in stock, for the S21 to just go away. Traditionally, they've kept it around, and the price has been lowered, and you can get it for another 6 months or a year or whatever. I think the S21 is just going to be gone. It won't even be an option, which is sad because, again, the pink and gold colorway is one of the most attractive phones of all time.
I'm gonna be a little bit more skeptical on that, and I'm gonna say it's gonna stick around for a little bit.
Okay.
All right. Do you think it's worth it to get a base 22 over one of the 21s?
Even the base S22, even though it doesn't have the 108 megapixel camera, it still has improved camera hardware across the board. That phone was already no slouch, so I'm excited to see what that looks like.
And that's kind of the point I'm making, is like the S21, again, is currently one of the best phones you can possibly buy right now. And if they start doing heavy discounts on that, like, how much better do you think that camera is really going to be in this one here? And if you can get it for, a couple $100 off.
If you can, I think that's a big question. I don't think Samsung were unreasonable with their pricing. I think it's very much in line with what these phones will kind of do as far as they slot into the market. But they have some good upgrades. I think the cameras seem to be improved. The screens also are brighter now for some specific situations, like when you're in sunlight and whatnot. You've got yourself the brand new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 for the US. And actually, a side note, internationally, like always, there will be an Exynos model. And this is going to be the first Exynos processor with the AMD RDNA 2 graphics, which Exynos stuff has had a little bit of a checkered past, because I think some years it's pretty decent. A lot of years, it's either not as efficient or not as powerful, or both, compared to the Qualcomm version. And here in the US and some other markets, we don't have the option. Like, you just get the Qualcomm or you don't. So I'm excited to see. I'm maybe a little skeptical, but there is a potential for the international version of this phone to have very powerful graphics.
That's something I was a little bit more curious about with this one, which I'll be honest, I'm a little disappointed with Samsung making Google's chip, which was pretty much just a modified Exynos.
Yep.
I kind of expected that this line would be the same chip that Google has, or at least like on the same level. But it's if it truly is like in the past, where it's just been a lower spec version of the Qualcomm one, that's going to be a little disappointing. When is Samsung just going to start saying, we're not using the Qualcomm chip, we're just going to make this one across?
It's really hard for them to do, mostly because Qualcomm has a really good relationship with US carriers. And the thing is, every chip and every phone has to be sort of certified. But the thing is, they've got such a embedded relationship that it's very difficult, not impossible, but it's difficult for Samsung to get the Exynos chip sort of on board, and ultimately for carriers to be like, yeah, sure, we like this.
Let us know what you think about the S22. Is it a good upgrade? Is it a bad upgrade? Is it just meh upgrade? Be sure to like and subscribe, ring the notification bell.
And most importantly, give me back my colorways, Samsung.
Absolutely.
Pink and gold.
So update, since we actually recorded the video, Samsung have a bunch of exclusive colors that are only on Samsung.com, and spoiler alert, they have some of the colors that I was asking for that make the design far less boring. So